how do you react when people majorly cite religion as the sole factor for homophobia? And how far apart are religion and mythology anyway?
So the first question is, when they quote religion as homophobe for the reason of homophobia, it's usually because Alpa Buddhi Mahabhayankar. I always tell people that if you are familiar with big data, and then you meet a person who is challenging you with a pivot table. I can say it in IIT. I hope I can't say this everywhere. But that's the tragedy, So many people, any form of hatred is usually, people are hateful, but they want to attribute it to different things. So they'll attribute to religion, they'll attribute to God, they'll attribute to the mother. So Freud decided everything happens because of your parents. You are a hateful person, take responsibility for it. Religion को आधार बनाने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. And the same is true for love. You are a loving person, not because of religion, but despite it. Religion is just a way of looking at the world. When the rules play a very important role, and it is about social control, then religion, that's the word of religion. Religion is about control and rules. Mythology is a universal language used in both religious and non-religious setup. So you can have mythology in a nation state. Nation states have mythology. So mythology is neither religious nor secular, it can be both. Because it is about stories, symbols and rituals. So propaganda uses mythology, but it's a short term, it doesn't really work. So mythology is a larger subject and religion is a subset within it.
On Wikipedia about Lord Varuna and his partner Mitra, and they had a baby to based on surrogacy.
Yes.
I want to know more about that. I could not find anything.
See, the problem is Vedas are extremely complex texts, and anybody who says I understand the Vedas is instantly you should know you're meeting a fool. Because when you read Vedas from a literal point of view, they have a very complex meaning. When you read it as code, for example, Dayanand Saraswati and Aurobindo read it as code, they found mystical traditions in it. If you read Fritz Stahl, he will say that these are meaningless verses where the power is only on the chanting and the purpose is the chanting. If you talk to people who believe in the mystical tradition, they'll say meaning doesn't matter, the vibrations matter. So Veda is an extremely complex subject and there is no one thing. But yes, there is a little bit of stories that emerge. But the story that you're talking is not from the Vedas, it comes from the Puranic traditions. And the Puranic traditions is that when the Apsara, depending on which story you read, it's either Menaka or it's Rambha, walking along, the two gods, Varuna and Mitra, who are always seen as together. And by the way, Vedas are full of binary gods. So Indra and Agni, Indra and Vishnu, they'll always refer to gods as two people. The two shall come together. Now, whether we take this two as a couple or as friends is up to you. For example, Agni is called Dvimatri, having two mothers. Now, what does it mean? Are they referring to a same-sex family? Are they referring to just, it's a metaphor? It's up to you, you decide. Very difficult to decode these things. But yes, there are lots of two males. So when we say male partner and all that, we should be a little careful. It's a choice, you can see it that way. You have the full freedom to do it. But put the caveat that it is your reading and not the reading. And therefore you have the story that the nymph walks and Varuna and Mitra get so excited by their beauty that they ejaculate. And it falls in a pot and two sages are born, Vasishtha and Agastya. So these are the stories that emerge. Now how do you read this? For example, Nara Narayana are sitting and meditating and Indra sends all his apsaras. And Narayana smiles and he slaps his thigh. And from it comes the lady Urvashi. Urvashi is she who resides in the thigh. So a man creates a woman. And Nara Narayana create this woman. So how do you read this story? So these are stories which exist. Want to know more? Please buy my book Shikhandi. But how do you interpret it is totally up to you. Every scholar will have their own interpretation. And you have to be very careful with what it means. There will be out there somebody who will get very, because he knows the truth. And of course he wants to kill you because you cannot have any other truth but his truth. So there are such people out there in the world. So, Hanuman Chalisa leke jana.
Do animal exhibit LGBT character?
Yes, of course. Just do a Google search on National Geographic. You'll find 1500 species. For example, dolphins are always, you'll find pairings which is not necessarily based on gender. You find them in giraffe. There are 1500 species which have been identified. So I believe you're an IIT student, so science student. So just check a book on botany, zoology. And as I said, most plants are androgynous. So every plant that you see is queer.
So, over the course of history, have there been instances where there is a change in the story of the mythology which has reflected a change in the worldview?
Yes. So for example, when I read the Vishnu Puran, which is roughly around 5th century AD, there is no reference to the goddess. By the time I come to the 10th century, the goddess plays a very important role. So somewhere between the 5th and 10th century, the Shakta Parampara becomes popular. It doesn't mean it didn't exist. It becomes popular enough to be written in the Sanskrit language. It may have existed in non-Sanskrit oral tradition for a long, long time. I will never be able to prove it. And there are codes and clues that it was there. But I see the role of the goddess emerging very dramatically. I'll give you an example. The idea of Lakshman Rekha. In the Valmiki Ramayana, there is no Lakshman Rekha. 2000 years ago. First time I come to know about it is in Kritibasa Ramayana, which is about 500 years ago in Bengali. So it reveals a shift. So you see that. So, or for example, Shabri ke Bear. You have first reference to it in about 300 years ago. Before that, did it exist in oral tradition? Maybe. I have no proof. What do I have proof of is a Hindi-speaking verse called Bhakta Rasamandali or something like that, which has a verse story of Shabri. So stories change dramatically over time. In the Vedas, for example, the gods have no vahanas. No vahanas. Only in the Puranic tradition, all the gods have different vahanas. Lions, tigers, snakes.
So you say that the idea existed like in mythology since whatever the century was,
Yes.
but the acceptance did not. Why would that happen?
No, I don't have enough evidence for the acceptance. I have evidence of the stories.
Sure.
You see, it's very difficult. When you're studying the past, it is very difficult. You have stories. It's like, for example, you look at Ashoka's pillars. Ashoka pillar ke basis pe people have decided how Ashoka thinks. That is like looking at the Prime Minister's Man Ki Baat and deciding this is how the Modi era was. Historians will never do that. Right? You can't look at a king's propaganda and decide the reality of society. So what I know of Ashoka and his period is I have his posters. And his posters make him look very nice. Doesn't mean he was a nice man. So maybe, possible, but it means nothing. It's just references. Because when I read the stories about him, they are very ambiguous. In fact, our understanding of Ashoka comes from H.G. Wells, who also wrote science fiction. And the understanding of Ashoka is that. It doesn't mean he was not a decent, we don't know. And a good scholar and a good scientist will say, I don't know. So I am absolutely confident that the narrative shows a very broad mind. What actually happened in society, I am not 100% sure. So for example, when people talk about Dharma Shastras, there is a verse in the Yaksha's, one of those books, where it says the property shall be equally divided between men and women. Yaksha's Nirukta. This is a line written over 2000 years ago. How many of us know it? Does it reflect reality or does it reflect the imagination of a broad-minded man 2,500 years ago? We will be only told Manusmriti, Manusmriti, Manusmriti. Oh, where women are treated very badly. Or we will cherry pick verses which show that India was a misogynist society. But I can show you equal number of verses show the other. So understanding the past has to be done very carefully. We don't really know what it means. There are many people who believe that ancient India had aeroplanes, but no homosexuality. अभी उसको तुम कैसे समझाओगे? He's convinced. After that you just say, हाँ. What?
Omkar briefly mentioned that you also talk about leadership. Do we have references or examples of queer leadership?
Define queer leadership.
Leaders who are queer.
Okay. Krishna, if you consider him as a leader, also has a long plait. And in art, he's always described wearing an alta. And he's very famous for, this is a very famous called Gore Gwala Ki Leela, where he and Radha exchange clothes. And for a day, he becomes a gopika. Or there are stories where all the gopikas come and tease him and they say that we'll dress you up like a woman. And they think that's going to be a punishment because तुम्हारे हाथ में चूड़ी पहना है. And Krishna says, अरे अच्छी वाली चूड़ी पहना हो ना. Is he queer? Is he comfortable with his sexuality so much that he doesn't mind dressing in any costume you want? In the Mahabharata, he turns into Mohini. But he is the Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, he says, I have two yonis. I have two wombs, Purusha and Prakriti. He describes Purusha and Prakriti as yonis, which is womb. Metaphor, symbol. Here is a deity who is very comfortable talking about him in feminine and masculine terms. There is no desire to be manly or macho. Who loves Shringar, who loves Alamkar, jewelry. Imagine today a man saying, "Aaj mujhe jewelry khareedna hai." Krishna wouldn't have a problem going out and saying, "Jasmine Mogra bhi khareedna hai, silk bhi khareedna hai, makeup bhi khareedna hai." What would we call such a man today? So it's queer is a mindset, a comfort where you are not willing to see borders. You're okay with it. Tension nahi hota. You don't get nervous and you won't attack. That's the mindset. So I think yes, there is Krishna. And of course there's Shiva who doesn't mind being half woman. People have not thought it through. It's a great idea. We all want to be equal, but we don't want to be the same. I want to be different. I have a right because my identity demands it. Equality is not sameness. It's about, so this, please understand, the West doesn't understand this. I give you an example. One of the topmost banks in the world calls me for a lecture on diversity. And this is my brief. We want more women who think like us. We want more Muslim women who think like us. We want more Chinese people who think like us. We want more blacks who think like us. We want more LGBT who think like us. That's not diversity. That's cosmetics. They want same. सिर्फ वो काला होना चाहिए, वो पीला होना चाहिए, वो थोड़ा गे होना चाहिए, लेकिन काम वही करेगा. That's not the meaning of diversity. Diversity is different people thinking differently because in nature, as everybody knows, mutation is required and diversity is required for survival. Mindsets are important. So, equality often goes towards homogeneity. So, what's the counterforce? Heterogeneity. Heterogeneity is about diversity, but the negative part of heterogeneity is it will invariably create inequality, it will invariably create hierarchy, and therefore you have to push back of equality. So it's a manthan, it's not this or that. Manthan where force and counterforce are working together. It is not a tug of war. So West only understands tug of war. Ye ya wo. Ye ya wo. That's why the Western understanding of Hinduism borders on the absurd. Because they look at it through the lens of equality. You have to look at the lens of diversity. And then you'll see how complex this picture is. It is very, very, India is one of the most complex statements in the world. It exasperates people. Because it's what is called dynamic diversity. It's not just diverse, it is also dynamic. The concept of time, kala, is there in Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism. You don't find it in mythologies around the world. This obsession with time. So dynamic diversity, to factor in time, is, now imagine a moving target all the time. What standard operating procedure will you give? Sorry, keep forgetting it's not IIM, it's IIT. So I'm using a lot of management words.